Okay, so here we are again. Last time that we left off, it was me and Lyndon talking about just this idea. I don't know if it's any good or bad or whatever. So after talking with Lyndon, I started to do some drafts of what I was thinking. Um, so this is, I'm thinking, could be a tile for a city block. And this across the bottom right now is who has access to this city block. So let's say if we have two city blocks, they would be oriented like that. And let's say, these are, let's say, four different car companies or logistics companies. The red would have red cubes, and let's say it had access to this city block. We're saying, boom, he has access to the city block, he's there. I could also say, get to the edge. So let's go over here and get some room. We could also say, let's say if there's multiple city blocks. So let's say we had city block, city block. Let's just build a grid here, city grid. Oops, didn't copy everything there. So let's say that this is the city grid. We can also say that there could be a rule where if you're in this city block, you have access to anything adjacent, which means, this one here, this one, this one, and this one. Diagonals will not count. What I'm also thinking is what we could do. Let me go over here to this original city block. Let me go ahead and lock it down so that I'm not messing it up. So I'm just going to take this and lock it together, or group it together, so that when I move one piece, it'll all move together. I'm in an old Illustrator, by the way. It's a cheap way to run. Plus, I know it the best. I could run on the... I do have a modern Illustrator, but I'm just using an old one because it's easy to get access to it. And, you can buy an old version of Illustrator that still works on modern Windows for very cheap. And for game design, it works just fine. So, also, I could be importing this stuff into Tabletop Simulator. I'm having upload issues at the moment, so that'll give me more time on the design end. And hopefully I'll figure out and resolve why I cannot upload new images. I'm hoping that it's something minor. Hopefully we'll figure that out, but I'll do that offline. Okay, anyway, so let's say if this is a city block, each one of the top of these buildings can have a good for the logistics company to pick up. So let's say, just thematically, that it's demolition waste, or shingle waste, or roofing waste. So we'll just say it's waste. So let's say if we make it gray, any company can pick it up. So, these roofs have gray backgrounds, so whenever they get replenished, they will be gray. Waste. So that means so there's gray waste. Let me get one. I'll just use one of these cubes instead of going to get another one. Gray waste, because the cubes are on the buildings. And then we will add, let's say there's a red vehicle here, logistics vehicle here, and actually, let's not do cubes. Let's do a cylinder, because I've got an idea. And I'll talk about this idea in a moment. So we'll make a cylinder just to give us a visual. We don't have to do this, but it helps me a little bit because I'm a visual learner in general. So I'm going to make something that actually looks a little bit like a cylinder, or like a disk token, I guess I should say. So make that black. Oops, that's a little bit thick. Got a disk cylinder, and I'm going to add a gradient just to make it look like it's it has some depth to it. And of course, you don't have to do any of this when you're designing. It just, for me, it helps me because also while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about, because that's a task that doesn't take a whole lot of brain power. While I'm doing that, I'm thinking about other aspects of the game, and my mind works faster than I can draw, and that helps me slow it down somewhat to put my mind doing something at the same time. That added a little bit of depth. So let's say this is going to be the one token. I always have like little leftover stuff, because that in Illustrator, I'll just explain real quick. You have fonts and you have objects. You can turn the object into a font in this older Illustrator, but you can't go the other way. You can't go from object back to font. So a lot of times I'll be designing and I'll come up with all these extra like fonts that I'm looking at. I'll usually make a copy or a piece of the font and just leave it in the file so that I won't have to remember what fonts I used. And then for the fonts that I'm using in the artwork or in the process of designing, I go ahead and turn those into objects because they're easy to deal with. This is much harder to deal with because of, well, one, it has a bigger surrounding box, and it just acts funny when it doesn't act like an object, where this has a smaller bounding box and it's just easier to deal with. Okay, so I'll group it so that whenever I move it around and I've got my regular pointer tool, it's all together. So we'll say we can place a token there. Okay, so like if it's a blue company, for now, just for speed's sake, we'll change that. We'll make it a lighter blue so that black will show up. So let me talk a little bit about the idea here instead of all this Illustrator mumbo jumbo. Okay, so I have a street tile, and on the street tile we're going to have a pick up and deliver. The vehicles that are going to pick up are actual pickups. They're the logistics company that's going to pick up a good. The good is going to be waste that's generated by these buildings. The number of buildings means the number of waste that this tile can hold and possibly generate. It can generate up to 6. It can't generate more than that. Anyway, these slots at the bottom tell you which vehicles are there, and it also puts a hard cap on how many companies can be there, because we're going to say, how many vehicles. So multiple tokens of the same color can be there, meaning multiple vehicles of the same company can be there, but there's a hard cap of how many vehicles. Now in general, what I want to do is have that this is, let's say, a truck, and it's here and it can pick up a good. Now one thing, I put a number on it because I'm going to associate that with the truck. Here's the truck. So this is something I worked on that night. So this is a company. Here are, let me move these out of the way. Here are the trucks that it has available. I haven't told you or really came up with the rules of what these trucks, how you purchase them or how you get them or whatever. I haven't really talked about that because that's rules we can come up with later, and of course it's going to change. But right now, what's important is most designers would, and this is the easiest way to design it, and it's probably the best, would have it. This would be a tile. So it doesn't separate. This would be a tile. This tile would come here, and this tile could pick up a cube. and the tile itself would have the cube on it, so the players would physically have a truck that has a tile on it, and it's easier to like be part of the immersion if you have something with another thing on it. Like, I know that I'm delivering this, it's on my vehicle, and then you can move the vehicle to its destination with the cube on it. So when this company gets a 2 truck, it could have the 2 truck here, and you put up to 2 cubes on it, and it has the cubes on the tile, and the tile will move to the next area. So the players are moving the tiles, and this is classically the way it's done in board games because of the immersion thing. I think it's the easiest way to do it. There's one level of abstraction that I'm going to add, because I don't like it because of it's fiddly, although it adds a layer of complexity that probably people don't like by adding. So we're going to have, like, this is on your board. You have a board, like, let's say this is your board. Here are the trucks on your board that you have available. You have let me do something real quick. You have cylinders, or cylinder tokens, that will represent the trucks directly, which what I'm saying is that the 1 is associated with this 1 truck. This number 2 token is associated with this 2 on this player card. So whenever my 1 is here, I know that I am talking about the 1 truck. Now, if you look at a game like I think it's Serenissima, like, it's a classic game. What it is, it has a boat, and it's kind of like a boat, and it's got, if you look at this big truck, and it's slots for cubes. It's like a boat like that, and it has multiple slots for cubes. Oops. And in that multiple slots for cubes, you slot in the cubes, and then you move the boat. And as you move the boat, it's possible for the cubes to fall out and these little bitty min tokens to fall out. It's immersion, but then it's also, when they fall out, at that moment it brings you out of immersion. So for me, it's okay to do it this other way. And in fact, I did do that in the cost. I made the mines actually have a number that's represented on your player board, so that's similar here. So in this game, we're going to have, there's a city tile. These are the truck tokens. These truck tokens have a number on it. Those truck numbers are associated with these trucks. I'm going to say that, let's say blue is here. So this means the 1 truck in blue is there, as long, and also the 1 truck for red and the 2 truck for red. I don't have blue represented here yet. Let me see if I've got them drawn. Yeah, I've got them drawn. So let's say this here is the blue truck, or the blue company's player board. Let's make the player board something that's an ugly color. Not that it has to be pretty or anything. We're just going to say that's going to be the player board color, or not the player board color, the company color for the company trucks. So there's more trucks than this. I mean, more companies than this, but right now we'll just deal with these 2. Okay. I'm going to make up rules as we go along, and I'm going to get rid of rules as we go along. I'm going to, hopefully I can do this out loud. I'll do a lot in my head, is how to make this game work. Let's say we have multiple, we have a block, so we have multiple tiles. Okay, so these two trucks have access right now. I might change the rule later to. Why is this? Oh, it looks like I unlocked it. Let me lock them again. Get rid of this one for now. Get rid of this one, and we'll group this together. Okay, cool. So now I'll do this little example. I'm doing this example because it helps me mentally figure it out. Okay, so here, red has access to this tile, and this tile. We're not going to count adjacent. Or in the game, we could say that they only have access to the tile they're on. We'll have to figure that out. We don't know yet. But right now, my gut's telling me let's just have the adjacent tiles. But that might be too much. The other thing I want to take into consideration is a company. How big can the company be? To start off with. So how many trucks does a company start off with? I haven't explained much about the game, so you'll just have to bear with me as I make it up. We've already made up some on the previous video, and I don't know how much I remember or what's going to morph into new stuff. Who knows? But okay, so what I'm going to do here... Oh yeah, and I don't know if I can do this live either. This is kind of on the fly and new for me. Alright, so here we go. I also want to do where tiles are make different types of waste. Maybe it's more advantageous for... Oh, okay. This has me thinking. What if take one of these and then ungroup it. Oops. Ungroup it. We'll have a tile like that. What if we can change the color of roofs? Let me see what that graphically will look like real quick. Not that it changes the gameplay at all. I mean, graphically, the graphics aren't going to change it. I'm changing the gameplay, but I'm doing this so that I can think about it as I do it. So there's a red roof. And let's see what it would do if... Oops. Wrong tool. I'll take that one. Let's say homeboy, red homeboy, can change the color of roofs. He's got his own tiles, and he can expand. And now we can call those contracts. So now the roofs are usually gray. It means they're open contracts, so whoever's there can pick up the waste. They're basically hand to mouth kind of a thing. Like they're there barking at the people. I'm saying barking, you know, like a barker, like a carnival barker, like someone asking for a job. So now you have... So what could happen is we have red cubes also. We have red contracts. And we also have gray cubes. Let me move this out of the way. So this is an interesting thing to think about. This idea of contracts. So now we have red cubes. These will be waste that can only be picked up on, or we don't need red cubes, but for now we got them. We can, because we don't have to. This is virtual, or this is a This is all vector, so it's all in a file, so I don't have to worry about the production cost. So we'll just make it for now. Later on, we'll scale down to something that's doable. Okay. So it could be that when waste is produced on a red square, only the red guy can get it. If waste is made only on a gray square, anybody can get it. I wonder what it would be like, what it would look like visually if we're looking at that. Does it confuse a person when waste is made on a square with, like, a gray waste is put on a red square, meaning the waste is the same, it's always gray, but the owner is the person that has the contract. I don't know. Let's just see how it plays out like that. Okay, so if that's the case, we won't have these red cubes. We'll just have red contracts. The thing that's interesting to think about is now that we have red contracts. Well, let me make blue contracts, and then I'll talk about the interesting thing to think about. I'm just turning all these blue. Okay, so blue contracts and red contracts. So what I was thinking, which is weird, is let's say blue has, these two spaces, red has this space, red has this space, red has that space. Let's put another red one. Let's put, actually, just to kind of think about it. Go here. Then we'll go here with 2. Okay. And we'll put a blue one here. So let's look at just several different scenarios. We've got the one truck here for blue and the one truck here for red. We have, let's say we have goods here. Okay, so in this case, we know that each one of them has its own good. These things will be executed simultaneously unless there needs to be... Okay, so let me talk about actions. There'll be an action phase, an action buying phase, and then an action execution phase. So it's basically like buying your cards and programming them, and then the program goes off. Okay, when the program goes off, let's say it says one of the program cards could be blue picks up, another one could be red picks up, and whatever color companies. So red and blue both say they pick up. Let's say there's one gray here, they both pick up, and it's supposed to happen simultaneously. There's 2 different ways we can do that. We could have a truck order, which is on a board, like turn orders usually are, just on the board, and say, this is the truck order, refer to this, if we ever have to decide a hierarchy. Or we could do it per block. So in this case, we're saying blue has priority in this block. Blue's the big man on this block. Blue's going to pick that up first. They're faster or whatever. For whatever reason, they pick that up first. Or I kind of like the idea of a universal one. But there could be a universal one, and then this is a microcosm one. So the universal one is for any time there isn't a turn order, But in this case, I mean a truck order, or let's call it a company order, and in this case there is a company order. Also, what I thought was really interesting is if we look at let's say, does blue have access to only the tile they're on, or do they have access to these other two tiles? If they have access to the other two tiles, then we start wondering about how priority really works amongst multiple tiles, which might be a little bit confusing. Or we might say, if he's trying to go here and he doesn't have representation, and somebody does have representation, then obviously he's considered 0. But if both vehicles don't have representation that are in question, then we refer to the truck hierarchy, the main truck hierarchy, because it's not on the tile. But the other part that's interesting is by adding contracts, we've narrowed a vehicle's or a company's selective cube they can get. I mean, we still have the broad gray, but maybe later on all these contracts are going to go out and shut down the blocks, and the blocks are going to be specific to companies. So if that's the case, so let's say a block generates an amount of cubes, and let's say it usually generates from left to right, top to bottom, contracts first. And let's say it generates X amount of cubes, so let's say it generates automatically each round like 2 cubes, and they go to first contract. So in this case, this one generated 2 cubes, it would go here because it would go left to right, top to bottom, contracts first. Otherwise it would go like that. And if somebody had 1 contract, we'd be looking at that. If we do something like that, then for sure, well, to make it easier on the trucks, they would have to be able to gather from adjacent areas, so that gives them broader strokes to play with. But then that also is a choke point where we can decide, well, we don't like that. We want it to be way more cutthroat. Truck needs to be where it needs to be to get it. And then we could do the opposite way. And then we've really started limiting the freeness to make mistakes. Like to experiment, that freedom in a game to do whatever you want to do, and you'll just figure it out. It's like it becomes very brutal, and the learning curve is much more difficult because it's basically punishing you for not knowing places you needed to be. Anyway, stuff to think about for the future. Yeah, it's a lot to think about when we don't have a game. The next thing I want to look at is, let's say we have a card. So I believe the poker standard size is 2.5 by 3.5. I think that, oops, for some reason I'm not doing it right. 3.5. It's 2.5 width by 3.5, but I'll just do it 2.5, and I'll flip the card myself. Okay, so let me flip the card. We'll make this the card, and we'll add background. I hate doing it I hate the look of the card so far. So I'm gonna make the card look more pretty. Okay, so that's just working artwork. We'll just make a big card for now, and instead of, let's go ahead and make a rounded edge card. Too rounded. Let's go a little less rounded. We'll go 1.5. Oops, not 1.5. Should be 0.15, maybe. It's kind of hugely rounded, but that's anyway, we'll do that. Okay, so hold on 1 second. Let's see. I was looking at my phone. Okay, so one style of card I wanted to have was going to be an expand. Hopefully I spelled that right. This will be our expand card. I'm going to do it meme style. Meme being whenever you have impact on a background with either black letters or white letters with the opposite. So actually we'll do it this way, which is truly meme. That way it could show up on any background and it's easy to read. So this is the expand card. This will be the expand card for red. So to denote that, we want this to be the red company. So we'll just say red and we'll write it in. You know what? Let's go ahead and use the same background as the contracts. And then we'll use this as the same background for that contract. And we'll make different. Okay, so this is the red contract. For now, this is not the way that it's going to work in the end because of the way you have to cut cards, but it's got a red. Let's add a red. What does red look like on there with a black? Expand. Okay, so that's the red expand card. I'm not going to change the font yet, so we need to know what it does. Expand, one of the things I think expand should do would be one contract. So let's add that here. We'll say +1. Okay. +1 contract. So by playing the expand card, you can put one contract there. Okay, what else can we do? We can get expand. Maybe that's how you buy a truck. So let me add a truck here. This can all change. This is just playing around. +1 truck. Okay, what else can we do with expand? Expand, we can get a truck. We'll talk about how that's possible. We can get a contract. What else? Maybe that's it for now. Yeah, let's just say that's it for now. The other thing that we need is to know in general the way that either or is a slash kind of thing. So let me make one. I could have done it with, the font, but I never know what those are going to look like until I do it, and this is just easier. So we'll move that there. We've got one truck. So let's make this simple. We'll do this. Oops. Where's the truck at? Did I delete it? Yeah, I deleted it. Okay. Let's go and put this here. You know what I'm going to do with the truck? I'm going to put a black background around it so it makes it easier to see. 6-stroke. Let's go a little bit bigger. Contract or a truck. We can change those icons. Oh no, I moved it funky. Let's go ahead and group those. And we'll make this a little smaller. So we're gonna say The expand card can add a contract or allow you to buy another truck or add another truck to the fleet. Okay, so in the game what we're going to say is, we'll have the trucks and they'll have their tokens out here, and all it does is take the token away from the thing and puts it in play. And we'll build that in a second. That gives us something to do while we're thinking. What I want is the card to have levels. And let's say +1 at level 1, +2 at level 2, +3 at level 3. So we're going to say +2, +3 at level 3. Okay, so those are the different levels of the card, and I'll talk about that in a second, what I mean. I just thought about another action that I would like to add. That would be and we can change this to another card later. Oops. Let's add a cube to this mix. So at level 1, you can do one of these 3 things. At level 2, you can choose 2, however you want to do it, or 3, however you want to do it. You want to add 3 trucks? Go ahead. Okay. So we'll do something like that, and then we'll do I want to do a cube storage thing here, and we'll do this. Oh, those are too close together. I know it doesn't matter. It just gives me, it's like cleaning your, it's like, for me, it's like cleaning your desk before you do art, or before you do a project. It just makes you feel better, and sometimes the process of cleaning itself makes you feel better. The process of doing this makes me feel good, of doing the art while I'm doing it, even though this is not going to be the art we use. So this is what it's going to look like, and the way it's going to work is the first time a card is played, you'll just put a cube here. The second time a card is played, you'll put it here. The third time here. Fourth time, fifth time, and at the 6th time it's a level 3 card. Cool. Yeah, I like that. So that's the expand card. The next card I want to look at, or the next idea I wanted to look at, would be basically you're an investor. We're going to call it stock. So it'd be stock in a company. Move this stuff off of here. Let's think about a move icon. So right now I'm going to go ahead and save this because I don't want to fail. Oops, I don't know why it's doing that, but let's just go here. Save as. I have horrible naming conventions. Okay, let's go, and we're gonna you won't be able to see this, but I'm going off to Google and I'm typing in the word move, and then I'm putting in icon, and I'm gonna look in the images and see if I see an interesting one. I should probably just do a arrow going in a direction. I like that one, so let me show you what that is. Okay, so here it is. So this is the move action. So let's say that's the move action, and we'll think about Eclipse has these little triangles for movement. It could be something like that. So each one of these could be a movement. Or we can just do straight up arrows. So I'm going to build an arrow. And think about the design as I'm doing it. Because what I want is the stock card not to be a crappy card if you don't want to use it just for the stock action. The stock basic action could be, oops, I don't know why it's doing that. I should be able to, there we go. Nope. I don't like that arrow, even though it doesn't matter. Okay, we'll call that the move action. Actually, let's just do it more like that. So what we'll do is we'll minus the foreground from the background. Nope, wrong way. Put that on top, minus foreground from the background. Boom. Something more like that. We want it to be a little bit more pointy. And I think in art, this one needs to go a little bit further back. And there we go. This is the movement icon. We need a load icon. So that's movement. You know what? We'll fix that in a second. So this is the movement icon. So let's see what a load icon is. So let me put a cube and then another cube or another thing around it. So maybe cube. Put red. Not there. We'll go red. And then we'll go black again. I'm basically copying and then coloring it, and then I copy to the front, then just make it disappear. Copy to the front, make it disappear. Copy to the front, make it disappear. So whenever I make them reappear, this is what it's gonna. This is what I've got. So what I'm thinking is minus the front from the back here. And then we're going to do that there. We're going to take away the black part, so minus it. So there we go. We'll call that the load icon. We can make this a little smaller. Load icon. For now. I'll come up with better ones later. Move, load. And those are different than expand. Okay. So one of the things you can do with the stock card would be to load. You could play a regular load card or a stock load card. And to differentiate the two, let's make the stock load card more than one load. So we've got a stock card here. So let's look at that. Stock card. Oops. I want to have extra copies of stuff because I hate to lose it. Stock card can do I have to think of how stock works in a second, but it also has load. We'll also have oops. We'll also have a load card. just stretch that out. Okay, load. We have stock and load. Load will be at level 1, it's 1, level 2 it's 2, level 3 it's 3. This will have to be different. So we'll go, we'll do level 1 it's load 2, level 3 it's load 3, level 2 is load 3, and then level 4. And we could, to make these cards different, we could actually make it in the card where can it load from adjacent blocks, or can it load from diagonals in the block, or is that part of the amazing stock card that you can, like the regular load card only loads from the blocks that are the block that it's in. The stock card lets you load, but it has more versatility but less loading options. We'll see. I don't know. Okay, so right now that's not too bad. We could make this, I don't know, we could probably make it like that, where the first one, the second time, for this, that's based on Super Auto Pets. Will deviate from their design later, but this just gives me an action selection mechanism to start from. Okay, so now we have the stock action, which we'll play with, the load action, which is pretty simple. Let's talk about the move action. Okay, maybe we'll go back to the 1, 2, 3 thing. We'll take off that, and we'll figure out movement at some point. And of course, I keep saying this, but these are not steadfast rules. They are playtest idea rules. We'll come up with a set. Once we play test it, we'll see the problems and we'll fix and start molding. These are very broad strokes. These are just, I would say, BS rules. These are not rules that are gonna hold. The hard part is you'll make a rule during these early stages, and you'll fix rules, and then the reason why you fixed a rule is to fix something that you originally did wrong or something. Anyway, so you could be 20 iterations down, and a rule is in the game. It's been the rule, you don't know why it exists, and when somebody asks you why is that rule there, it's like because there was this whatever problem, and that problem doesn't exist anymore, so you don't even know why the rule's there. So we have to be very mindful of what rules we're adding, because everything can be pulled off of it. Nothing is in stone, not even the concept. It's like basically drawing on an empty canvas. I mean, painting on an empty canvas, drawing on an empty page, and just saying, okay, let me get another canvas and start all over, or take little bitty pieces of what I've already drawn and redraw them or repaint them. So load. Oh, this is supposed to say move. Okay, so I was wondering why is that icon that? So this is the move card. Oops. Let's stay at least a little consistent. Okay, so let's think about the stock card. Let me take away this card and think about the stock card. Okay, by having stock in a company. Okay, so let me go backwards. The move card is a way to make money so far. I could have a deliver card or a destination card, but we'll see if we need it. Right now, we're just going to say move. Move gets you to where you want, and if you happen to have the movement to make it into the destination, you'll get paid. With a move card, moving a red. So let me explain this. So let's say there's 3 areas, and we spoke about this in the last video. There's the city, and this right now is our city. It's going to be way more complex than that later, but this is our city. The city cube, the vehicle can be in the city or on the road out of town to the delivery area, which right now it's a landfill, or to the landfill, to the waste management site. The vehicle, once it gets to the waste management site, that is where the players get paid. So we'll say with the move card, it is possible to get paid. You get paid, and anyone who has stock in that company gets paid. The player who moves gets 1 per cube that is sold, and the person with stock will have to figure out what the math should be, should get paid for each thing that gets moved, or a combination, or whatever. We'll figure that out. It's an amount of points. Or let's say the person who moves it gets a point and money towards new card. Like, we'll have 2 currencies at least, and the first currency would be card buying currency, and the second currency is going to be point currency, victory points. So stock can only get you victory points. Move maybe can get you, if it's delivered, can get you both. Say 1 VP and 1 let's just call it money. 1 money and 1 VP. Money will be used for cards, and VP is used for winning. So yeah, I think so. If you look at the stock card, the stock allows whoever has a stock card in a company that delivers, they'll get victory point. Each stock card that's played is also expand. They're like investors. They'll expand the company's size. So I need to figure that out. Obviously, the company size allows for the size of trucks. Well, I say obviously. It should be, I think, a rule that a company, a size 1 company, meaning it has no stock, so it's just a company, we'll call it a size 1. Maybe we'll put a stock out there that, yeah, okay, so we'll think 18xxy's. Okay, in the offer at the very beginning, there will be cards which for setup for each company. Each card will be considered a stock card. Each card would be available for purchase for the players. So besides their let me explain this. During the player's turn, you will have a set of cards which you're going to buy as your hand. So your hand, and then you'll have a set of cards which is your offer. Everybody's offer is their own. In the middle, in the supply offer, now I'm thinking there'll be a stock card, which is the card that's the setup, the card that's the setup for each company, and I'll explain that in a second. Those cards that come out will dictate starting positions and the stock that you buy. When that stock is bought, it is put directly into your hand. Cards, once a stock leaves a person's hand, it goes into the middle of the player area. Maybe. Or it loses investors and it has to downsize. I don't know. If by putting the stock back into the uh, player area, into the general supply where other people can buy it, it's kind of interesting because then that means players can always have the chance to gamble for those. Interesting. That's a thing to think about for next time, I think, is how that would work. But anyway, so let me in the next 5 minutes kind of think about these stock cards. We're going to call them the start stock cards. Actually, here's what we should do. They're not going to have this bottom part, or maybe they will. I don't know. It's going to be different. Oh, okay. So they won't. These stock cards will, for now, will be static, and don't. They're cards you can buy at the beginning and allow you to get into a company and allow you not to get screwed because maybe in your original offer you didn't have stock and you want to have stock. But the disadvantage is by having them, they don't upgrade. So let's say this is going to be start stock. Let's justify Senna. Start stock. Cool. We'll take off this bottom part, and this will tell them what cars they get. So let's make this one. They get the 1 and the 2 car. I don't know how graphically to say that. We could put the 1 and the 2 car. Actually, let's do this instead. We don't have that much time. We'll continue this tomorrow. They'll have the 1 car and the 2 car. And okay, so another one. Another red stock car, a stock would be the 4 car. So let's write, we'll just take this off. The 4 card. I mean, the 4 car. The next one will be the 3. We can change the order, but like the 3. So it's going to be a 1 cube available. So like these vehicles can carry a number of cubes that the 1 car, the 1, 2, and 3 car can carry 1 cube. So this stock card allows the starting company to have the 1 V truck and the 2 truck. This stock car company will allow them to have the 4 truck, which allows it to have up to 2 cubes. So it's 1 truck. The third one will give it 1 truck, which is the number 3 truck, but we'll make that truck actually come with the cube. So we'll call it that and then load also. So, oops. I need to group those. It comes with the number 3 and load. Okay, now the question is, what are we going to say is we're going to say this is the worst card. So this is also going to determine the turn order. So this is the worst card, and the worst card will make it a Roman numeral 1. Oops, 1. Times. Go bold or go home. 1. We'll say this one is the second best card. This is just a guess. We'll find out later. And we'll say this is the third best card. Okay, this is going to determine. So let's say we have 3 companies. Let's say 4 companies. 4 companies means they can. If we have 4 companies and they both have 2 trucks each, I don't know if I want to do that. 4 companies at 2 trucks each, which is that 8 trucks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trucks. So we need 8 spaces. So yeah, that'll work. So we'll have, these are the 2 starting tiles. And the top tile will be the better tile, and the bottom tile will be the worst tile. These will file in a. We'll figure out this order next time and how it's going to work for this starting thing. Basically, each company is going to have one of these cards, and each one of the companies we're going to, shuffle up the red, draw a red card, shuffle up the blue, pull a blue card, shuffle up each company, flip over the card, and then find out where they start, and then we'll go from there. Anyway, so let's stop right there, and we'll continue tomorrow on working on this messed up game that's probably getting nowhere.